they've got the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, the celebrity race, right? The pro celebrity race. I end up doing it. I end up winning. The next year, they invite me to come back as the previous winner. They tell me that I got to start at the back of the pack. I was in first place in 4 laps. Their 25th anniversary, they invite me back. They invite a bunch of previous winners.
I didn't get the call, by the way.
You were probably busy that weekend. Actually, no, that would have been before you were racing.
All right, I feel less slighted.
Anyway, I went into turn 1, no brakes. Because I put my foot to the floor, nothing happened. I grabbed the e-brake, pull it up, and kind of get the car to rotate, so I went in sideways and didn't take the front out. So then I just used the gears and the e-brake the rest of the way.
No, you didn't.
I finished 3rd.
No, you didn't. I don't even think I could have done that.
This podcast exists because I love talking to people and I love going deep. The purpose is to plant seeds of inspiration. We enter a space of vulnerability and relatability. And what you realize is that we are so much more alike than we are different. To quote Ram Dass, we're all just walking each other home. And this show is just one step.
I'm Danica Patrick, and I'm pretty intense.
I'm so happy to have Alfonso Ribeiro on the Pretty Intense podcast today. I've known Alfonso for a really long time. We met about 25 years ago at a go-kart track. And when I met him, he was just finishing up a little show called Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where he played Carlton Banks. And trust me, he still does the dance till today. I've seen him do it many times. We finally had the time to really go into these experiences and the memories of racing go-karts. He really has some really great perspectives on life, but he's just a really, really happy, positive guy. I have no doubt that as you listen to this podcast, you will be smiling too. And if this podcast doesn't get you to smile, I know that watching America's Funniest Home Videos, which comes out in October on Nat Geo, will get you to smile. Because who has not watched America's Funniest Home Videos? I used to watch that all the time. So have fun with this episode.
We're rolling.
And we're rolling. That would be literally the most official start of a podcast that I will have ever had. I kind of freak people out because usually I just start talking about something that just came up, like something natural. And then we start going, and every now and again somebody goes, "Oh, have we started?" I'm like, yeah. They're like, "Oh, take 2." And I'm like, "Not really, but okay."
Yeah. No, that whole beginning is still going to be on air. Yes.
Oh, that whole thing. It's still, this too. And this too.
Well, that's the reality to me is because I've done a few of these in the past, right? Where the moment you absolutely come on, you recognize, oh, this is where we're going. It's never all right, let's get started. I'm like, oh, we haven't started? Okay. I just assume we're going.
That's smart. See, you're seasoned. You've done a billion interviews.
Not a billion, like 100 million.
Yeah, sorry, I overestimated. Do you ever get sick of them though? I mean, I totally got sick of them. At the end of my racing career, I was like, God, these are just these are different to me, but regular interviews, I'm like.
The ones that are the hardest for me are the SMT. Those, and I wouldn't say that I'm tired of them. They're just harder to do because you start out with all the zest and the energy of whatever it is that you're trying to promote and you want to talk about it. But then all of a sudden, you're 2.5 hours in and you're like, yep, I've said this 25 times already. For people that don't know, an SMT, a satellite media tour, is where you sit down in a chair, they've got a camera in front of you, and it's differently I've had them every 7 minutes before, I've had them every 10, I've had them every 15, but they're just one after another, and so usually they want 2-hour windows for them. And I hit my threshold at about 90 minutes. I can make the 2 hours. And so we've tried to get the 2 hours to be the max, but every once in a while it's 3. And the radio tours are easier because you can literally move around the house. Yeah, you're and you sit back and you got your
right.
And you don't have to look anyway. You don't have to
Exactly.
keep your shit together.
Yep.
You're not here. You're not looking into the green light. right?
Just pretend like I'm not here. That's the magic. Just pretend like I'm not here. Do whatever you'd normally do.
Just look into the green light. and keep saying the same stuff over and over again. But yeah, as like I said, so I don't get tired of them because it's like I still feel blessed that I get to do these, right? Like, I mean, obviously there's a reason, right, that I get to do it, and I'm lucky enough to do it. So I kind of put it together in that way. I kind of go, yeah, well, you know what? I get to do these,
Yeah.
You hate the ones where they misquote you or they, I like it when it's more like this, right? Like, so, this will go out and it will be my words with me on camera saying whatever I'm saying.
In entirety,
right? A setup, here's the story, here's the whole thing versus you say something and we're going to take that line and put it over here and move it around. And those are the ones that you don't enjoy.
Yeah. Where did you get your humor? Like, I mean, where did that come from? Is it cultivated? Is it, I mean, it's got to be a lot natural. Was your dad funny? Your mom?
My mom and dad aren't funny at all. And
so that's kind of funny, actually.
They probably be like, what? I'm funny? No, you're not. I would just say, I think being the baby of the bunch, right? So I'm the youngest of 3 boys. I think I had to find humor in things because it was just a lot of mayhem, right? Growing up with all 3 of us. And so if there was any place that it came from, it would be just kind of like, I was the kid who just was like, yeah, whatever. And just, I found I've always been glass half full kind of guy. And I think that really lends itself to my brand of comedy. Whereas there are the guys and women who are glass half empty, and that's the source of their comedy, right? It comes from a dark place. Mine comes from a very happy, light, fun, enjoying life. Even when things aren't good in my life, I'm still enjoying life. And I think that take on everything allows me to dive deeper into just trying to bring a lightness, a fun, a happiness to every situation that I'm in. Even if you're talking about a serious situation, I'm probably going to make a joke somewhere because I'd rather everybody kind of light and open than not. And I would say that I've used it mostly in my life as a director. Because when you're directing and everybody's in the process and everybody's trying to figure out what they want to do and how they want to say something, sometimes that moment, lighting it up, just taking the pressure out of the moment and putting it on me and taking it away from everybody just allows them to go, oh, and they breathe. And then all of a sudden I feel like, especially with younger people when I was working for, Disney, they would absolutely give you a better performance, and the performance would be just a lot happier and lighter. And especially with Disney Channel, you wanted that kind of energy, right? Where everybody felt light. And I felt like I was able to really kind of help with that lightness and just, when I read things, when I hear things, I connect it, and I connect it to a lot of the stuff that I always do. It's all regurgitated humor. Something that I saw, somebody I connected to, Eddie Murphy or Richard Pryor, Robin Williams. I would look at these comedy routines, and then all of a sudden I wouldn't say what they're saying, but the essence of the way they delivered it would show itself up in something else that I would be doing that may not at all be connected, but the essence of whatever that needed to be, I would try to drive that into that scene.
Wow. How cool too that you went at from the positive standpoint of comedy versus the negative. Is that just the way you are, or is that or can you identify where that came from? Was there like a heaviness in the house that you wanted to lighten up? Were your brothers serious? Like, did you just choose that lane based on environment, or is this just very innate?
I think it's mostly innate. I think it is a large part of just who I am as a person. In growing up, my brothers and I, we fought all the time. Like physically, yes, all the time, right? We were 3 boys. My oldest brother is 3 years older than me. So, right, and there's 3 of us. So we were bang, bang, bang. And at that age, it's like you're constantly wrestling, you're constantly fighting, you're constantly arguing, right? There was a lot of that in my house. And like I used to always say, like in school, I became famous because I was in the principal's office when a phone call came in about a Broadway show called The Tap Dance Kid. Because I had just been in a fight, right? So I was that kid, right? Like I used to always laugh because when I would see you, right, at races and somebody might hit you and take you out, and I would see you just storming down pit lane, ready to go take on some dude who's twice your size. And I was like, yeah, I recognize that person because that was me. Right? I was always the shortest kid in the class. I was the smallest guy, right? But I used to always say, yeah, you might win, but you're going to have to fight to win.
And you better watch your ankles.
Okay. Yo, I'm going to hit you straight in the gut. But like that was something that I dealt with, but I was still a bright light. I still was like, no, we're going to try to like have fun. And I always wanted to have fun, but you know, kids can be mean sometimes. And so I fought 3 times a week in grade school.
Damn.
It was just part of what it was. And I used to always say, yeah, but you know what? I'm going to try to make sure you never do it again because you know what the end result is going to be. The end result is going to be that you're going to be in a fight. So you're not just going to
You could have gone MMA.
Well,
you could have gone a whole different direction.
Yeah, but they would have needed a little peewee MMA league.
Oh, they got weight categories?
Yeah. You know, but I was thick. So I still had the weight, just not the physical side.
Who wants to starve themselves that much anyway, just to like weigh in? Ugh.
When Will Smith was doing Ali, I actually went and spent, I spent probably 6 months with them training with Angelo Dundee and all of these heavyweight boxers. And so I spent 6 months like learning to box, and we'd have to fight once a week in the gym. And so, you know,
you and Will, that sounds fair.
Well, no, I would have to fight him. No, other people in the gym. But the weird thing is I ended up fighting, like the one guy that I'd fight all the time was 300 pounds, but he was my size at 300 pounds. So it was, I got to hit him 4 times to take 1 punch. But like that kind of training, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody.
Yeah. I never tried boxing. I think I took like one kickboxing class one time about 10 years ago. And I mostly just did like burpees I did burpees with the boxing gloves on, and then I come up and you punch and you go back down. Wasn't real boxing. But
that's like Billy Blanks ish.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Something like that.
Which I did a lot of that too. So
I mean, didn't we all do those DVD things back in the day?
Of course. Yeah,
I mean, doesn't anybody remember P90X? Insanity.
I used to actually go into Billy Blank's class.
Oh.
It was here in LA. So like, you know, why put on the thing? I'm gonna go hang out with Billy and his brother Michael, and we'd go in and train and whatever.
This is the part of the story when it's like, how do we know each other? It's like we've known each other for so long, 25 years.
Yes, absolutely.
I was like 14, so that'd be 25 years. For those of you who can do math, that's a bummer. But if you can't, then let's move on.
Let it go.
But I mean, so where did go-karting fit into this? And then we're going to talk about how we met.
Yes. So go-karting came in actually a while after I started racing. So I started at 18. And, you know, they've got the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, the celebrity race, right? The pro celebrity race. And the first time I actually just went, it was Ricky Schroeder because I was doing Silver Spoons. I had done Silver Spoons. He did the race. They let me practice up at Willow Springs, and they let me just hop in the car on the 4th day of practice. And I ended up going faster than everybody who had been actually practicing for 4 days. I literally just hopped in the car and just went faster than everybody. I was like, that was fun. So a couple years later, they invite me to do it. I end up doing it. I end up winning. And I kind of clock out and literally just disappear from the rest of the celebrity field. The next year, they invite me to come back as the previous winner. They tell me that I got to start at the back of the pack.
As a pro.
But not as a pro yet.
Oh, at the back of the celebrity field.
Just the back of the celebrity field. So even though I qualified up front, they put me at the back of the celebrity field. I was in first place in 4 laps.
Oh, God.
Right? So I just went through the field, and literally almost every turn I passed somebody, and just in 4 laps, I was in the lead. So the next year, they invite me back again, and it's their 25th anniversary. They invite me back. They invite a bunch of like previous winners. They give me a car.
I didn't get the call, by the way.
You were probably busy that weekend. You might have been. Actually, no, that would have been before you were racing.
Yeah, I did it in 2001.
Yeah, this was like 96.
Okay. All right, I feel less slighted.
Anyway, I went into turn 1, no brakes.
I mean, there's runoff, but what a bummer.
No, it was a wall. It was a wall, but I used the e-brake because I put my foot to the floor. Nothing happened. I grabbed the e-brake, pull it up, and kind of get the car to rotate. So I went in sideways and didn't take the front out. So then I just used the gears and the e-brake the rest of the way.
No, you didn't.
Yes. I finished 3rd.
No, you didn't. I don't even think I could have done that.
Well, I just was like, I wasn't going to stop. I was like, let me just try. And you had to brake way earlier, right? So
next up, drifting.
Yeah, well, I tried that. I'm not that good at that. But so from there, I was like, well, let me just do some other stuff, right? And I'd done some. They had the Dodge Neon celebrity series and different stuff. And then I decided I wanted to try to give it a real run. So I went and I did the Barbie Dodge Pro Series. I did the Star Mazda Series. So I did my first oval at Las Vegas Motor Speedway in the Star Mazda Series. I did a bunch of road courses, Laguna Seca, Sears Point, and did okay, and then I ended up having a pretty bad crash at a street circuit in Reno in the Barbie Dodge car. And so that kind of derailed me moving forward in real cars, but I wasn't done racing. I still had the bug, right? So, someone that we knew was like, oh, you should try go-karting. And I was like, all right, let's try go-karting. And then I found out really what go-karting was like. And I went, ooh, this could still give me what I want in the racing world, right? I can still go and bust and go hard. And so I ended up finding a team, and Sean Patrick Flannery and myself and Mark Paul Gosselaar and Perry King and a bunch of us decided we were all going to do a little bit of this. And so we ended up getting go-karts, and we ended up teaming up with Tony Kart, right? Which is leading into us, right? So we ended up with the guy who would import all the Tony Kart chassis into America.
Jean
Marchioni, right? So, but we almost funded him, right?
Which meant you funded me.
Which, this is where our circles cross, because we then at Super Nationals in Vegas, right? We went ahead and we basically put that massive tent, we paid for it, at Super Nats in Vegas, and you ended up in our tent in Las Vegas.
At 14 years old.
At 14 years old. While we were basically out there trying to do the S1, S2 class and run with all the big boys. The problem is we always felt like the engine program at Tony Kart was nowhere near everybody else's. Whenever we'd go and put our motor on someone else's dyno, it was like, I don't see the difference between this and a stock motor. So we just never were able to compete as we felt that we could.
Yeah.
Scott Speed was part of that time when he was racing, and, we ended up leaving Tony Kart, but that's where we met. You were 14 and out there, and you were just as spunky as that was the beginning of seeing you turn into like, yeah, go get it, girl.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't normally ask questions about me, but I was 14. What I remember is, of course, like how cool it was that like you and we called, I mean, obviously Mark Paul being Zach, for those who don't know, Mark Paul Gosselaar, Zach from Saved by the Bell. And then Sean Patrick Flannery, we called Powder because he was an actor. He did a movie called Powder.
Right.
And like my sister and I, and there's like, I can remember this picture that we had all together hanging out around the go-kart. But I just remember thinking how cool it was. I was like, wow, these people are into racing. But the question I have, just because you were there back then, what was I like?
Well, what I remember most was you you were shy-ish. Right in the beginning, like you were. I guess you were probably a little with them mostly, but probably a little starstruck and kind of like, oh my God, they're here. That's kind of weird. It was always that, right? It was always a bit of the, why are they here, right? Like,
yeah, that's very much the question. Why are you here? What are you doing?
Worlds crossing that doesn't make sense to people, right? Yeah. But like, because we were all together in that tent, we would go out and watch all the other races. And I remember watching you in one of the races and going, oh, she can drive. Like, she's got that fire. And I think when you would come back in, we were like, dude, girl, that was awesome. And you were kind of like, yeah, whatever. And it was like, you had like, it wasn't a good race, but we were impressed by it.
Okay.
And yeah. But that's where you, like, for me, you gain the respect because it no longer mattered that we were who we were. You were like, I didn't have the race that I wanted. It didn't matter who else is around.
Right. It wasn't like I was like, thanks. I was like, whatever.
Yeah, you were like, the race didn't go exactly as we planned it.
Did you watch? I'm like, I probably was like, did you watch the race? Did you see what I finished fourth?
Right. And it was like, well, but to us, it was like, especially because if I remember correctly, there were literally only like 3 or 4 girls that
maybe
really were there, right? There was a girl from Canada that raced.
Yep,
Juliana. There was you. And like every once in a while, you'd see another person come in and out.
Right, but that'd be about it.
But really, unfortunately, they would most likely always be kind of at the back. And so, but you two were the ones that were like in there competing. Like, okay,
yeah.
You get next to each other.
Juliana was good. I mean, I was better, but she was good.
She was good. And like, what was interesting was her and I had many run-ins.
Really?
Oh, a ton.
Oh my God, I have a story too about a run-in with her. What was your run-in?
Well, we were in the same class. So we ended up like, we were in Barrie, Ontario.
She was Canadian.
So it was her kind of home race. She was a big part of helping get SCUSA there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, she was expected to win.
Yeah, and they were I think her family imported the Burrell carts.
Right. So it was a big
factory,
deal, right, for them to do something. And we went into one of the heats and she bumped me out of the way. Okay.
So, I mean, if we can now draw in the beginning of this conversation about fighting in school, it's like, if you want to fight me, I just need you to know how this goes.
I mean, you bumped me out of the way. I mean, couple corners later.
That's quick.
She got bumped out of the way. And we get in after the heat. She ends up finishing near the back. She storms down, right? And up in my face, gives me the shove. And I was like, I can't do anything here. You're like, I'm a grown up. You see,
yeah, I used to hear that back in the day about me. They're like, you can't start a fight because I can't fight you back.
I can't. But like different when you're an adult. Like, it's still male, female, uncool, can't do it.
Right.
But I was also an adult.
Yeah.
I was a kid. Like,
Yeah.
how does this
yell at a 13-year-old?
Right. How does this end? Right. And I think she was probably like 17
or so.
Like
yeah,
that.
she was probably in the seniors class, so she was at least 16.
Right. Like, but I was like, we can't, but okay. Right. And I was like, beat it. And the next race, whatever. But, but she was a fighter. She was a hardcore, go after it, get it done, try to win every race. Had that, Canadian, French Canadian fire and but what I remember most about you was that you ultimately was a hardcore, go get it, take no bull, racer. And it was like immediate respect. And I've always said, laughingly, I was like, well, Danica used to race for me.
You should tell that story. I need to know that story. I didn't know that story.
I was like, yeah, the Super Nationals, she came and she was under our tent and we had the whole, because we were basically funding Tony Kart. So like we were that week basically funding the entire operation. And that was the year that Jean decided to do we had the biggest tent by a long shot. I think it was like 30 carts under the tent. And so,
after that, I think we ended up, I feel like I remember, like my dad thought there's too many people in there. So we moved out of the tent and like got our own space because it was just like too much and not enough attention. And so, we moved out. But my Juliana story is fairly similar. I think I was racing somewhere in maybe Indiana or something, and she bumped me, and then the race finished and I didn't get back to her. So afterwards I was close enough. And after the checkered flag, I just came up behind her and slammed her so hard and sent her off. Right. And, it's really, it shouldn't matter. I'm going to say it shouldn't matter. But after the checkered flag, they don't like you to do those kinds of things. So I got in trouble.
Yeah,
it's always the second offender. Do you
always
notice that? Like you look at all of sports. You look at sports. You look at racing. I can think of all kinds of times with myself in my sport. But you look at it, and the antagonizer doesn't get in trouble.
Absolutely,
it's the retaliation that gets in trouble, and that's just not fair.
Well, I've just said I'm just going to accept it. I'm not going to stop doing it. Right. Like I was like, the second person gets in more trouble. Okay.
Oh well.
Okay, but it's going to happen, right? and obviously as you continue to do amazing, like there's a very difficult reality that's very different in racing than it is in many aspects of the world, where I believe like you had to hit her.
I know what you mean.
Right? Like that moment, the next time you two come together on a racetrack, like she's got to think just for a split second, can I do this?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know what the end result is going to be. It's coming back. Unless it was clean, unless it was fair, it's coming back.
Yeah, I remember this, it honestly felt like a burden because it's not my nature. Like I don't love being overly aggressive and taking people out, and it's not my nature. I like to be fair. And I remember in NASCAR, especially with bumpers, that when people would do stuff to me, there was this really big pressure around me where it was like, you better do something about that. You better go take them out. You better. And it was like, and for anybody who watched me, I didn't always execute very well. I sometimes took myself out. And then like one of the times where I got hit by a driver and then I came back out, it was at Martinsville, and I hit him back and tried to take him out, but I took myself out.
Right.
And that was the race that Matt Kenseth and Joey Logano had it out. And Matt Kenseth came back on the track after he had been taken out and crashed Joey Logano. And he was in the running for the championship. And it was because Logano did it to him the race before at Michigan. And so because NASCAR was under such high scrutiny for what Kenseth did, I'm sort of blanketing myself in this, is that I got a huge punch. Like, I think I got fined like $70,000 and got like 6 months probation for it. I mean, like, I had a huge fine for it all because it was kind of under this really highly scrutinized race about, since it was not for position with him, just like Matt and Joey weren't for position.
Right.
All of a sudden it turned into this big thing. But yeah, it's just not fair in general, but it's the way it goes. And I think, I mean, you know, that's probably a good attitude. Just, you're right. In racing, you do kind of have to stand up for yourself. So there's a second thought. But I think I don't think it's just racing. I think in life, if somebody does you wrong and you have to sort of correct it, there might be some sort of repercussion of that. But that person better think twice before they screw you over again or say something negative to you. And, you know, I mean, it's...
I care not about words. You know, words are cheap. Going all the way back to my childhood, it's the same thing, right? It's the same reality that I had growing up, where if you're going to attack me, you got to know what's coming back. And as long as you know what's coming back, the next time you're going to think before you do it. And all you need is the thought. It's not about intimidation. It's not about any of that. It's about, I want you to know, because there are bullies in the world. And those bullies, they thrive on knowing you're not going to do anything. And so for me, I always looked at it like, well, you're going to have to do something, because you're going to attack. I'm going to respond. And now what? Where are you? Are you really the bully, or do you sell wolf tickets?
Good line.
Which one is it? Because if you're really the bully, then you're going to stand up to the fight. There are a lot of guys, and, you know, very different in NASCAR because you have bumpers, right? IndyCar, y'all don't play that, right? No. That's not a game you play because that's people lose their lives. In go-karting, you got to have bumpers. It's open wheel, but it's bumpers. So it's kind of an in-between. But you constantly, you know, especially you always get bumped in the back.
Yeah.
That's an almost always case, right? So, I think just through life, I've just always been that fighter that wants to live a happy life. And I just want to be left alone in that world of like, just don't attack. I'm never going to attack anybody ever. Right? I was like, whenever I accidentally bump somebody at the end of the race, I don't care whether I ended up winning, losing, back of the field. The first thing I would do is walk up and go, my bad. Just immediately, I'm letting you know that was an accident. That is not my intention. I was not trying to take you out. I'm sorry. My bad. How can I make it up to you? Like, that was always me, because that's just who I am.
Yeah.
Like, I'm never the starter of anything. I'm always the guy who gets it, takes it. And then when I respond, people are like, you can't do that. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm just responding. And it's just, you know, look, it's I think in life, you want to make people recognize to make the right decisions and make the right choices, and don't bully anybody. Don't come down on anybody. Let's just try to do this and have fun. I used to say to people all the time, by the way, if you're racing next to me, this is not your career. Is it really that serious? I'm doing this for fun, and I'm not good enough to make it to the top. So if you're racing next to me, there's a good chance you're not making it either. So let's just leave it and let's have a great time. Let's respect each other and let's keep going.
Oh, well, I think you're undermining your talent. But so where does acting fit into this? Because like I'm hearing about like, you know, boys and growing up and the banter and the fighting and the racing and the, you know, like where does acting fit into this?
So here's a very interesting thing that I always look at, right? It all makes total sense to me, right? Because acting is the only job, right, where truly second place is the first loser. Only one person gets the job.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay. So you're fighting for the win and nothing else.
Yeah.
Because nothing else matters. The guy who was going for my role, who finished in last place, and the dude who just didn't get it and was the next person in line, there's no difference. So the mentality of win or don't care is how I live my life, how I live with everything. I only know that you either win or you lost. Second place doesn't matter.
It's like in Talladega Nights when he says, Dad, you said if you ain't first, you're last. And he goes, that's stupid, son. He's like, you could be third or fourth or shoot, you could be fifth.
You can.
I love those racing movies. They're so great. Greatly terrible.
But so with the acting, right, it was always about winning it. And I say this all the time. The job in the industry, right? Your job is to audition. That's what being an actor is. Right?
Once you get it, you get it.
If you get it, that's the bonus. Right? But the job is auditioning. You got to learn your lines. You figure it out. You create whatever it is you're going to do. You go into that audition space, whatever it might be, and you deliver. And if you deliver the best, you get the job. Now you get the bonus of doing the work. Right? So for me, it was like, I got to go win today. Right? I got to go win. I got to go be this person. I got to become somebody else today. And I was very fortunate because I literally worked from day one. The first audition I ever went on, I got. And so I, in my mind, only knew you go to win this. You go into that room and you go win. You be whatever it is that you need to be. Right? No holds barred. Whatever they ask you to do, you go do it. And you do it with a smile and you deliver. And so, I was fortunate enough to deliver on, some impactful roles that gave me an incredible life. And I feel blessed and fortunate that I was, even put in the position to go in, and to give myself an opportunity to win those roles. When I switched to a different agency many years ago, and the first meeting I had with this agent that I ended up going with, his name was John Stovitz. And he said to me, all I can do as your agent is give you a chance to succeed. But you got to go succeed. Nobody's going to do, like, we could be at I'm with CAA, which is the biggest kind of, talent agency in the world. We can't get you work. You get yourself work. We're just going to give you the opportunity to get that work. And that's the way I've always looked at it. It's my job to go in and deliver. And, with acting, it's just, it was easy for me to become somebody else. It was easy for me to, as we've gone through this interview, it's hard for people to imagine that the person who's saying all this played Carlton, right? Like they don't equal up. That's because I'm playing somebody else. I become somebody. I live that life. I literally become that person. And I deliver what I think is a comedic, most of the time, performance of that person. And my comedy really is, people live at like a 6 or a 7. On TV, you got to be a 9 or 10 in terms of energy. You take it to the end of where it's almost too much, right? And so, I can't I can't be on screen at 6 or 7. I got to be at 9 or 10. And so that's all I ever did.
I mean, even when I do I'm obviously not full on acting, but let's say there's a take for a commercial or anything, you name it, like something little. And then they're like, all right, let's do one more take for safety, which always means that was okay, but maybe there's better in you.
Right.
Always. And then when I say, would you like me to overact? And they're like, sure. And they always love the overacting. They just love it. They love the, oh my gosh, and the dramatization, and they love it, and it's like.
Because there's that little person in the back of our head that says, but don't look like a fool.
Right, exactly.
Right? So you stop yourself short of being too big, always. That is every person in this world. That is their instinct, is to stop short.
Okay, when did overact acting and looking a fool and being afraid you might look a fool. When did that pay off? And you were like, I'm so, there it is. I was worried, but holy shit, it worked.
Literally after when I was on Broadway, like at 12, it was like, because theater, musical, not a drama. I'm the tap dance kid. You've got to talk to that person in row 38. You got to talk to that person, and you've got to figure out how to project to that person while still being in the role. When I got to TV, they all kept trying to turn the knobs down. It was always, all right, just bring it down a little bit more. Just a little less, I was always 10-10, right? Always. And then it was like, nah, let's throw a 7 in here every once in a while. And I was like, a 7?
You're like, I mean, anyone could do that.
I was like, we're missing the point. But really, but then I learned, it's variety, right? You got to have highs and lows, and sometimes the lows need to be here, and sometimes moments need to play incredibly true, incredibly real and small, and then sometimes I need to play big. Well, all my moments on Fresh Prince that are memorable are big moments, right? They're 10-10 moments. Sure. And what I learned while doing Fresh Prince would be, I need to go to the 5 to allow Will to go to the 9 so that I don't take away from his moment. So sometimes the still is the setup for the big. Ka-boom.
Yeah.
I need to be the ka for his boom, right?
So
it's literally, I learned that as time went along, but it was literally from first time performing in front of a large audience was go big or go home, right? Go deliver it all, which is why most likely when people talk about like, well, why haven't you had a film career? I'm like, because I'm too big for film, right? Like I haven't learned how to do a 2. It's very difficult.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm guessing again because I'm not in film, but it's not as much presenting. It's kind of more like actually catching you having a conversation. It's like a moment caught as opposed to it's supposed to be natural as opposed to which natural's a lot lower than a 10.
Right. Very much so. And you have to drop it all the way down. You've got to really take it small. And the way I always like to say it is the difference between me being here and me being here.
Oh, yeah, right. I mean, that's a visual.
If I'm talking from here, I better not have an awful lot going on. But if I'm back here, I can talk with my hands. So it's kind of the closer you get, the smaller you get. The wider you get, the larger you get. And so the film medium to me is such a smaller like picture frame that it's really difficult for me to hit all my notes.
Yeah.
Tight.
Did you want to do film?
Oh, I think as an actor, you want to do everything, right?
Right. I mean, especially like it seems like some sort of graduation, right? I don't know. It just seems like when you do this, then you do that, right?
Right. I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you become a film star, you become a movie star and you basically, get to call your shots for the rest of your life, right? Whereas TV star, you're always walking into that room auditioning.
Yeah.
And so, of course, would have loved to, but I didn't have that thing that allowed me to go to that small place while still delivering a big moment. I never learned how to do that.
Right. So what do you do? So, because I think this is something I've even done in my own life where you just end up realizing kind of what your talents are, like what your personality is, and then where that fits in. For me, I always thought something like, when I'm done with racing, I'll have a cooking show. I love to cook. That would be really fun.
I know you love to cook.
Yeah, I've cooked for you.
It was great.
Thanks. But then I thought, then I did a couple of segments and, I've done plenty of different cooking shows and been on, but then I realize I'm like, I don't think I can do that. I'm not that funny. I'm not that light. I'm not that bubbly. I'm like super serious, which is where the podcast came in, because when it came to talking to people and like going deep, I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, I love talking. I love that. I'm so interested. That is far more my jam than it is to talk about, hey, and take a cup of this and pour in a tablespoon of that and mix that up. And how's that going over there, Susie? You having a good, like I just can't do it. And so I learned where I fit in. So where do you?
I hear you, but I'll say I don't fully agree with that, in that it's not about it's about a team, right? You've done single person sports with teams behind you.
Right.
Right? It's about a team. If I were to put you with 2 or 3 chefs and you all got in the kitchen and played, I bet you would be really, really fun in those moments, because it wouldn't be about you having to be fun. You would just have fun inside of a world that you actually enjoy, because you enjoy the process of making a meal. If that was the circumstance, it would take you out of what you're comfortable with, because it's that same thing. Can you go beyond that moment of like, I know that this is where I'm comfortable. This is my 6. Even though you take your 6 to the 10, because this is what you're also really good at, you feel comfortable with it. Whereas you're less comfortable. I think you would be fantastic on a cooking show, but that's just me. But with that,
you and your wife should do it. Angela can do the baking and all the desserts, and I'll cook the main. I mean, like,
come on, we're selling a show right now.
We are. So where did you find that your talents and your ability to be at a 10, like, where does that fit in? Where did you find a home for that after? Because when did Fresh Prince, Fresh Prince ended?
Long time ago, 1996.
Yeah, there you go. So, there's been a lot of time, and you've done plenty of other things, but, where did you find that personality fit in?
Well, I think, the beautiful thing about sitcom work is your rehearsal process. The rehearsal process is everything in sitcom. If you don't have a good director that knows how to lift up the rehearsal process, you typically don't have a show, right? On Fresh Prince, our rehearsals was everything. We created magic in rehearsals that then made it to screen. Right? A lot of things that we did, ad-libbing and playing around, the director sometimes would be like, just keep going. And you would just like play. And we always had writers who would be sitting on set because they learned that
writing what you did.
Whatever we did, they would write it down. And then all of a sudden the next day it's in the actual script, in the context of the scene. And so I learned very quickly that go, play. Find it, do whatever, go 10-10, right? There were so many things that like there was a Madeline Kripe was the coordinator, camera coordinator for the show. And she used to have a saying for me, and it was way over the top, made me laugh. Right? Because that was me. And she'd always be like, that was way over. Made me laugh. So, like, do you bring it back and it's not as funny? Or do you go all the way, but it made you laugh? Right? It worked on Fresh Prince for me to go over because we looked into the camera, or Will did. The moment that happened, it allowed for anything. Because it wasn't
those
real.
Moments when it would be like,
right. Immediately made it okay to do anything. You can go way over the top. You can do anything. It doesn't matter. This isn't real. And as soon as the audience knew it wasn't real, we had a license to do whatever we want. So I could go 10-10 all day long. Because, like realistically, would I really come down the staircase and just turn on the radio and go into a big dance routine?
I don't know.
Anybody actually do that? No. But once Will looks into the camera and goes, now that can happen because it's not real. You get to come into our family, this fake family, and play.
Yeah.
And
is that kind of how The Office does it? Is any look to camera kind of like license to go?
It's license to not be real.
Not be real. Cool. Yeah.
It's a true license. The moment anybody looks in, this ain't real. This ain't real. We're looking at you. We're looking at you sitting on your couch in your living room. This isn't real. So we're about to do something real silly and stupid that isn't real. But come for the ride. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, right. It's ridiculous, but it's funny.
But it's funny, right? And it's understanding the moments and the triggers for people at home that allow them to let go of reality, let go of what should be real, should be played real. Now, we played real moments all the time, but they allow you to go over the top.
Yeah.
Right? You couldn't imagine the Friends cast really going over the top.
Right.
They went to the limit, but they wouldn't go over the top because that was supposed to feel real.
Right. There's no, it was almost like the look to the camera is like breaking character of going like, I'm in character. And then you look at the camera and go, hey, I'm out of character for a moment. Watch this.
Right. And back in.
Yeah.
Immediately it changes the relationship with the audience.
Huh.
So that was a huge part of why we were able to do things and why I still think today in syndication, it still does so well because that wasn't real.
Right.
Right? That also allowed Will Smith at the time. Most people don't think about this. At the time, actors on television weren't allowed to become movie stars. There was a hard line that if you were a TV actor, you were a TV actor. You were a movie star, you were a movie star. And they never crossed, right? In the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. The moment Will looked into the camera, he could go be anybody else.
Right. Because he was showing like, oh gosh, wow.
I'm not this dude. I'm wink, wink. I can be anybody. Because right now I'm about to do something real out of character.
Wow. That's fun.
You will look at television and movies differently.
Right. Yeah. Everyone will, by the way, that's listening to this.
I was like, here's the curtain. Come look behind it.
Yeah. What a time. How many years was the show?
We actually only did 6 seasons.
6 big years that led into life, basically.
Right.
You know, after that was done, what were the big lessons? Because that's a big life change.
Well, the real lesson was things come to an end. Cherish them when you can.
Which is a beautiful lesson.
Yes. Cherish this moment. This moment will never happen again for you. Recognize it. When we finished our last season and we're all standing on that stage knowing that this is the last time that we'll all be together like this. We'll see each other. We're all friends. We all love each other. But this will never be like this again in your life. Mm-hmm. And when you get home and wake up tomorrow morning, your life will be different. Remember, cherish, and enjoy it. And that last day, that last taping, that last week, the whole week, we just took it all in and enjoyed it, and enjoyed every moment, and enjoyed every moment with everyone. And it was an incredible time. But the lesson ultimately was, this is going to come to an end. And when it does, now you got to move on to the next part of your life. And what does that look like? And most of us, you never know what that looks like.
Well, you don't. Yeah, you don't. You can try and create it, but you don't always know for sure.
Yeah.
So what has that made you do different moving forward in your life, whether it be work or relationships or family or kids or, how has things been different since then, knowing that so young? I mean, you were in your 20s, right?
Yeah. I mean, There were a lot of different, let's say, parts of my growth and in my life, and in all of those, I lived life, right? Like I really lived life. I loved life. Racing became part of my life, not on camera. I didn't go there with camera crews taping me. Like if you imagine today some television star doing a race thing, they'd have it become a reality show. It wasn't a reality show. It was like my life. And I started to do things that I enjoyed, that I loved to do, that made me, passionate. Right. And when racing kind of went away, it was then it turned into golf. Right. And it's all the time, golf. I can't get enough golf. I can't get enough of that feeling, that competitive feeling that I get, but also the love of something like that. And so I went heavily on fun, right? And then, you reach a certain age where you're like, okay, fun, enough with the fun, right? And luckily for me, that's when Angela came into my life, right? And turned me into a much better person. That it wasn't about the fun. It wasn't about, any of that. It was like, hey, we're in love and we're going to have kids and we're going to love our kids and we're going to be with our kids and we're going to, family first and all of that. And a year and a half ago, middle of the pandemic, stuff like her walking in and saying, hey, let's go buy an RV. And me going, what?
Obviously, I'm totally going to ask about the RV adventure.
Right. But I'm like, what? Like, what do you
mean?
RV
world tours.
Right. What do we do? What are you talking about? But one of the things I've learned is, wow, there is a beautiful country that we live in that have so many beautiful things to offer. And to be able to go, like this last trip, we went up to Glacier National Park.
Yeah.
That might be one of the most beautiful places in this country, period.
Yeah, it's stunning.
Right? And it's amazing to go up there. And of course, we have little kids, so we can't really do the hikes as much as we would like to. And one day we'll do that. But just going to see such picturesque, beautiful places, that's what she's brought into my life. She's brought me, she, leveled it down, got me. Now I can do it too. Right? I couldn't do it too.
And now, in a year and a half from now, you'll be a movie star.
Yeah, we'll see. But the idea of, really getting down to the core of really the person that I am, which is about happiness, about joy, right? All of the fun and all of the, having a great time. And then, we're never going to have this moment again, so let's enjoy it, right? All of that. Now it's like, you know what? We are going to have this moment again. It's just going to look different. Right? It's just not going to be this moment, but we're going to have these moments. We're going to share wonderful times with friends. We're going to, on our road trip, stop at your house and have dinner, right? We're going to
Loved it.
Right? We're going to have these moments in our lives that you can share and it doesn't have to happen every day, but you cherish those moments. You stop and, as they say, you stop and smell the roses. And that's really the transition that has changed for me. It's like I can just go sit somewhere. I couldn't sit before, and I can sit and just be. And she's been the most incredibly supportive person with my business, with that. But it's really just like I am a better person because I was fortunate enough to meet her.
The experiences that you're having right now are priceless with the kids young and being able to have freedom and traveling and seeing places together and having new experiences together. I mean, that's just gold. And it's so cool that, you both are just such a good team. What do you want to teach your kids in this whole journey, especially when you have this immersion time? Because anybody that doesn't know Bus Life, it is full immersion.
Yes, you're in. I want them to find joy in the smaller things. I want them to truly, at this age, all they're doing is wanting to run and play and tackle and fight and all of that, right? I want them to recognize when something is beautiful. And there are moments when, we're driving in the RV and I'll say, guys, come on up here, check this out. And they'll come up and like my older son, AJ, will be like, wow. And like, those are the moments that I want them to remember forever. I want them to be able to say, wow, we've seen some incredibly beautiful things that this countryside has to offer. And, days don't go by when they realize that the reason they even have this is because you got to put in the hard work, right? Like I'm able to buy an RV and go riding around the country because I've worked my butt off to get that. All the good, wonderful things in your life will come from your hard work. Enjoy what you see. Take it in. I always like to say, as an actor, I can't portray something I've never seen.
That's right. It's fact.
Right? Like I can make it up, but how real is it? Don't know. Right? So the more people you meet, the more places you see, the more experiences you have is what makes you full. And that you can bring to anything you do in life. Anything. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's on TV, movie, whether it's, sitting at a desk. You're going to bring your experiences to whatever it is you do, to whatever you're passionate about. And this road trip, the constant road trips are part of that. We say all the time, you can read about Mount Rushmore in a book, but it's really kind of cool to go see it in person. So let's just go see it and experience it. And that's what we've done. You
don't have to rely on the books to be reporting on anything, right? You can actually just go see it for yourself.
Yep. You're not taking someone else's take on it. You're just seeing it and experience. It's wild and crazy. It's much smaller than I thought.
I know. My parents were just there. My parents went to Sturgis.
Okay, yeah.
Because they're bikers.
Yep.
They're anything really. And they drove by that, and they did last year because they went and they said it is smaller than you'd think.
It's just I was like, wait a minute, that's it? I was like, that was massive, but it's kind of hard to chisel faces in the rock. It kind of makes sense after you see it and you go, yeah, they kind of had to do this, and it didn't take them 100 years.
So where do you fit in golf, in RVing around the country, and all the fun things that you do? Where do you fit in time? Where does work start? Because you do Funny's home videos, which is cool and so funny. Who didn't watch that growing up?
Right, me too. Right, loved it. But I have the greatest job on the planet because one, I just get to go and laugh at videos. Right, like even right before we came on, I was actually prepping voiceover for tomorrow for AFE because my first day is tomorrow. And the beauty of that is that we tape throughout the year, right? So that the videos remain fresh. I might work this day and then I might work again like in 2 weeks, and then I might work again in another 2 weeks, and then so it's spread out through the year. So I just kind of look at my schedule and go, okay, I got a 2-week hole.
Got it. This is my window. These are
right.
My windows.
So let's go take a trip for those 2 weeks.
Sure.
And then come back. Right. Golf is, if I'm not on set, I can go play golf. Right. So I fit that in often. But that just fits in where it fits in. I'm passionate about it. I've got a simulator in my guest house.
Scottsdale's calling your name, by the way. I just want you to know that y'all moving out here, it's calling. There's got to be more golf courses here than anywhere.
I keep saying to Angela that I would love Arizona. She's like, yeah, but it's so hot in the summer. I was like, yeah, but we get 2 places. Yeah, I'm working on it. We're working on it because I know you keep saying it on the other side.
I do. I love your wife. She's like my my hippie girlfriend who knows everything about when it comes to EMFs and food and all the things. And I know she keeps you healthy and well. And I think she's great. And I think you should move out here so we can hang out and be friends.
I think I'm working on it with you.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you come out soon. And in the meantime, keep doing the living life thing, and being joyful and having fun and teaching your kids what it's like to work hard, play hard.
That's it. I'm going to thank you. And I'm going to absolutely, I'm just going to keep doing me and keep loving it. And I feel so blessed that I have this life, and I've got amazing fans around the country who show me love all the time. And, and more importantly, I've got great family and great friends that continue to support me and continue, lifting me up. And all I'm going to do is keep being me and keep loving everybody that I have in my world.
Sounds like a good job.
Thanks everybody for listening to the Pretty Intense podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like what you heard today and you want to hear more, please click on the subscribe button.